What's up, everyone? Let's see if we got a couple people here on YouTube already. Hello, welcome. How's your week been? So we're trying a different angle with the camera. I've noticed like a weird delay in my normal camera that I passed through with the HDMI cable. I don't know, but we'll see if there's a delay here. But anyways, yeah, welcome. So the vote finished up. Let me actually double check what the vote was, but I'm pretty sure we're doing incident response tonight. What was your vote? If you're in YouTube right now, put in the comments what did you vote for? Were you one of the 25% that said shut up and hack, or did you want to do IR? Let's see what we had here. See if I can find out how to get to my posts through this phone app, because it's not intuitive. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, we got someone in chat. What's up? Hi, Kaylor. You're new. Welcome to the channel. Did you have a vote? Yeah, I can't find. Okay, I can't find the post I did on here, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure we didn't have enough votes to sway the opinion. Look, there's +1 right there. IR. But yeah, we'll do some IR today. So this is one of the things I actually enjoy doing, incident response. So we'll be looking through some logs, interpreting. Right, that's what IR is about. Is you're interpreting symptoms, things you're seeing, kind of like a doctor does. Right, we're looking at all these scans, all these metrics about the human body, biometrics, to determine what's wrong with someone. We're doing the same thing with a cyber attack. What are these things? We see this in the log. What does it mean? What type of attack is it? Where did it come from? And the fun part about doing incident response is that it's like solving a puzzle to me. That's why I like it. Right, you're trying to fill in these gaps of knowledge. You're like, all right, I have this alert. I'm almost positive this is bad. How did they get there? Where did they come from? Where all did they go once they came into this network? So it's fun. I like it. Now, if you're asking me if I like IR better than pen testing, I don't know, man. They're pretty equal, which is why I swap. I'm a trader. I swap between red and blue sides every few years. Right now, I just went from a purple hat to a blue hat. So I run a SOC now. So back on the blue side. Let's go defense. Let's go. What do you do, Kaylor? Are you in cybersecurity now, or are you working on working your way into cybersecurity? Thanks for being chatty in chat. Also, I'm sure we'll have some usual suspects in the chat a little bit later today. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and I'll keep chatting. As I do that, we'll get all this stuff situated. All right. Go back to that one. And then I guess we need to change this color behind me to not red, because we're not hacking. We'll do blue. Blue for blue. I like that. Blue for blue. And then let's go ahead and do a screen share. Hopefully you can hear me okay in the mic as well. I just had to adjust it. I was getting some weird pops in the post-production. So I am on a mission to get rid of these pops that drive me nuts. And let's try to fix up the layout. Maybe. Every time I come into this tool, they change it all. It looks different every time, which is fine. I just have to figure out how to use it every time. Oh, nice. Oh, man. From garbage. Ah, sweet. From garbage man to Cyberman. That's awesome. You should put that as a bumper sticker. Garbage man to Cyberman. That's awesome. Good luck on the Sec Plus. Hopefully, we'll be able to dive into some topics that may not be as as apparent um, in the text as they are when you actually see some examples. That's kind of the hard part, right? Sec Plus is super theoretical. And so there's a lot of missing things when you go from reading about it to doing it. There's some gaps in knowledge there. So hopefully we'll do that. So feel free to ask plenty of questions. Happy to answer any questions too. If you have any problematic areas in the Sec Plus, ask away. No one's going to care. All right. So now mission number one is we need to find something to play with today. So let's see if we can't find a good room. We'll see if we can't find something with Splunk in it. I think there's a boss of the SOC in here. So we will see if we can't find that. Um, practice, I think, is where we want to go. I don't want to do SOC simulator. Feel free to do that, but it gives me PTSD. I don't want to answer alerts. But we can if you really want to. We can. Let's see. Boss. Was it boss of the SOC? I think it is. Or Splunk. Let's see. Splunk pops up here. There's investigating with Splunk, but the thing I need is I need lots of stuff in the SIEM so we can kind of pivot and make our own way. This thing is hating me. I'll just put Splunk in here. We'll document too. So one of the things we'll do differently, we'll work through some of the content. We'll work through using some of the queries, but we'll also document it so we can focus on building the narrative, which a lot of people who are just getting into cybersecurity, getting into the SOC, they don't do a good job of telling the story of what happened. So that's what I want to really focus on today. Is as we go through the SIEM and we're looking at the artifacts, we're looking at the evidence that we're telling the story as we do it, and we start filling in the blanks because that's how I want people to look when you're doing an investigation. It's just not a series of unrelated events. It's a series of related events because it has to deal with the attack chain. So we're going to focus on that. I'm a both kind of guy, but I was looking for Kaylor. I was looking for. I'm gonna put this up on chat. It's like I thought you were a hack the box kind of guy. I am for offensive stuff, but I couldn't find a good Splunk instance in hack the box that I could share. So they have a whole defensive thing. I'll get to your question in a second, Corey, as well. So they have a whole defensive thing, but I can only share certain things in hack the box, and the stuff I could share wasn't good enough for what I'm trying to do. So I'm not in there right now. But it is really good for defensive stuff, just not good for streaming. We have to uh, stream in a certain way. Like we're not allowed to give away certain content. So I can't deep dive into their defensive side, sadly. But this has free stuff in here that I can stream. So we shall. Corey says, let's see what Corey says. Do you think someone could take the Sec Plus cert and pass with no prior knowledge besides training programs and books, or would you recommend starting with a lower end cert first? No, you could do Sec Plus without any training, or with training programs and books. You could do it with the book. So all the CompTIA exams I've passed. So I've done 4 CompTIA exams, and I passed them all with the books only, and then maybe like a study or a test question set. The best way to go about doing it, I would say, though, I keep looking at the camera because it's still like, geez, I need to look at this camera. The best way to go about it is when you're taking your practice test, going back and not just memorizing the answers, but going back and learning those topics where you're struggling, because they could ask any question in that topic. So you need to go and cover that topic. Make sure you understand all of it and why you're struggling with it. And once you understand those concepts, you'll be fine. But just keep going back and making sure you're understanding everything. Most of it will apply, especially if you're going into the SOC. Being on other roles, some of it will work, some of it won't. But yeah, totally. You can get by with just a book. Not a problem, Corey. Not a problem at all. Yeah, man. I got to follow the rules so I don't get my account banned, Kaylor. I don't want to get my account banned. All right, so let me Let's see. So I'm on a free subscription in here. I hadn't renewed it for this week, but that should be fine. And let's keep looking. We don't need in-map. I wonder if I can just look by type. So let's look at free. I'll sign up real quick if I actually need to. Yeah, you can definitely do it with just studying. Believe in yourself. Yeah, believe in yourself. There's lot of really good study material out there for the Sec Plus. You really don't, besides buying the study guide, and you don't have to. You can go to your library and get it. A lot of libraries have it, or you could get them to order it. But there's so much like Professor Messer. There's tons of study material out there, so you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg to get enough information to actually pass it. It's just make sure you're digging in there. Make sure there are things in there you do have to memorize, like the ports and services. Just do it. The OSI model, gotta do it. It'll sound very abstract early on. Like I know those two things are very abstract, but they'll make sense the further you go along. It's just weird early in your pathway. Um, but yeah, you'll be fine. Just keep chipping away at it. Study a little bit. Get those note cards. I used to look at my note cards every morning for the stuff that I had to just memorize, so that I didn't have to memorize it all right before the exam. Just kept it in there. Like the different types of encryption is another thing. How many bits, stuff like that. You just got to memorize it. Investigating Windows. Let's see. Find artifacts on an endpoint. Let's see. This one might be it. Let's see. I want to make sure we're in a SIEM though. I don't want to just look at when event logs. I can, but that's not what I want to show you. Yeah, and feel free, Corey, to ask questions as well. Like I said to Kaylor, ask questions if there's something specific you need help on. I am happy to be of assistance today as I look through trying to find. Oh, they have some XDR stuff. As I look through trying to find something to do with Splunk, we might just do that Splunk one we saw earlier. This is Linux stuff. Does anyone have a really good Splunk one they know of in here? I need to just make notes of which ones I think are really good so we can go back to them. Ah, perfect. Yeah, happy to have you. Happy to have you. My cousin is also studying for the Sec Plus, but she's like, I now have class at the same time you stream. So I can't do it anymore. I'll have to wait till next quarter. It's okay. We'll forgive her. All right, we'll start with the Splunk one. That'll be at least, I think, should be enough content for us to work on. And if we need to, we will pivot. Oh my gosh, is it requiring me to subscribe? Come on, it's got to be free. Nope, it is a premium room. What the heck? All right, hang on. I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's see. I might have to subscribe. I was trying to be cheap and not subscribe, but that's all right. It's like what, 15 bucks. All right. Let's see. I'll do that. Keep asking questions and stuff while I'm doing this. What's been your favorite thing, Corey, so far studying for the Sec Plus? And why did you choose Sec Plus over other certifications? That's always a good question. Because I get a lot of questions of why the Sec Plus? Why can't I just study or take one of these other ones? All right, so we'll do the month here. Let's see if my stuff's still in here. I do this for you. I pay for stuff for you. Boom, boom. Okay, it's all in here. All right. Super quick. That is the way to go, Corey. You know, a lot of people wait till the end of their degree to get certifications, and it's the wrong way. You may as well do them in the summer, or just do them while you're doing the courses. I know some of them. I don't know about your program, but some of them do. Where like, this is Sec Plus materials, this is Linux Plus materials, or whatever certification they're building their program around. But yeah, you cannot get a job in cybersecurity without a certification. It's You can, but it is so difficult. So many people have certifications now. It was really difficult before, like when I started, like 10 years ago. It's even more difficult now. I mean, I unless I know the person, I probably won't even look at the resume if there's not a certification of some sort on there. Let's see. Oh, let's see. We got another one. Sec Plus is the cert I would need to get into our IT department where I work. Got it. I was working my way through A plus, and it seemed very remedial. Remedial. Cool. Yeah, some of it is depends on your background. A lot of people get a real shock if they do the Network Plus. Network Plus is tough. That was the first one I did. I was like, "What is this stuff? I don't know what subnetting is. I don't know what the OSI model is. I don't know what all this types of load balancing and network craziness is." All right, let's see. All right, I have this now. I guess I can share again. Let's go back to sharing so I don't leak my credit card everywhere. Welcome if you're just joining. Say hi in chat. I'm trying to get better about talking with people while I do while I stream. Sometimes I'll be like zoned in, like we're doing an exploit for a smart contract the last 2 weeks. Well, we started at the end of 2 weeks ago and finished it last week. Sheesh, what a mind melter. What a mind melter. All right, let's see. Maybe it's in one of the modules. You do advanced Splunk. How about just medium Splunk? Can we do medium Splunk? Let's see. So Splunk, if you're curious why I keep looking for Splunk things, I love Splunk. Big fan. I don't want to install Splunk though. I like to use Splunk. I don't want to engineer Splunk. There's a difference there. Um, Maybe SOC 1. Let's see what's in SOC 1 things. Now I have access to more stuff, so I'm looking around to see if there's a better option here. These are all great things, by the way. If you want to learn about the blue side, these are all great things, just not what I'm looking for at the moment. It's not them, it's me right now. That's okay. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, modules. I still like you. Oh, no, I don't mentor anymore. I don't have time. But happy if you hop in Discord. You can find it if you're hopping on here on YouTube. You can hop in there. Feel free to take out the sensitive information and slap it in there. And I'm happy to give you some tips on there. I try to like scale my help for people because I don't have a lot of time. I have two companies I run now. I work full time, and I'm a dad, and I'm training for an ultra marathon, so zero time. So I try to scale all my efforts to help people. So typically, a lot of people do the same things, Kaylor. So I like to for everyone to see like kind of your mistakes or the advice or like, this is really good, and then they can take your format or whatever. But yeah, feel free to just take out all the sensitive information, drop it in Discord. Happy to look at it. Happy to put advice in there for you. We can do it that way, but yeah, not right now. Not unless I find some hidden time somewhere. But I might want to take a vacation with that time instead of looking at resumes. Yeah, a lot of parents here, I'm sure. Probably need to pull down a new token. One thing I hate try hack me's like attack boxes here. They're horrible. I don't like them at all. I'd rather use my own VPN. Let's see. Should just be able to pull this down. Oh, there we go. OpenVPN's already installed. So if you're using Kali like me, so what you're seeing on the screen here, I have Kali opened up in VMware, and you can get Kali like the whole image just pulled from their website, and just load it up, and it's pretty simple. It makes life easier. I do almost everything in a VM, especially if I'm doing like blue team stuff. I'm doing artifacts, malware analysis. Going to do it in a VM. Going to lock the VM down. So if I break something, I can just roll it back to the last known good version, and I can isolate it so I don't infect my host machine. So just good practice. So we need to go to downloads. So this is a terminal for those of you who haven't played in a terminal before. And yeah, this is where we do a lot of hacky stuff, which is a good time. And right now, what we're doing is looking for the file I just downloaded, silverbits01. Actually, my other one might work. So let's pull that up. Let's see. Jeez. No, we don't need to run WinPs. There we go. See if this works. Should be fine. And we'll just check. Oh, actually, I have Metasploit open here. What's going on? It really wants me to hack today. And we got to tunnel up. So we have our connection. All right, let's see. Yeah, so I'm starting up another company as well. But yeah, I'm always busy, always hustling, man. Yeah, feel free to ask, Taylor. Happy. That's what these are for. So you can ask questions. I can show you, walk you through stuff. But yeah, I stay busy. It's a good time. I work a full time job. I run a global SOC and detection teams. So it's a good time. So it's a good 40 plus hours a week there itself. Dude, so running, you know, sodas are good for you. They tell you if you want to lose weight, don't drink soda unless you're a long distance runner. Drink all the soda you want. Those simple carb or simple sugars, so good. They're okay. Can't go wrong with that. All right, so this VM is in Europe. We might have some issues with that. That's okay. Let's see if we can go to this website. It's all good. Everything. I drink one soda a day. Leave me alone, Kayla. Leave me alone. Dude, I have to have some caffeine too, working all day and then doing this stuff. Got to stay energized. Otherwise, I'll start petering out near the end of it. It's all good. It is all good. Yeah, I got to do a long run this weekend. I'm trying to get back up to like my 2-3 hour runs after like cruising for a little bit, being lazy. Good times. All right. So for those of you who don't know, has everyone heard of what a SIEM is? Have you crossed that in your Sec Plus studies yet? So a SIEM, Ghost Energy Drink. Yeah, that's the new one. SIEMs are going to be your big log aggregators. So if you're a SOC analyst, this is your baby. So basically, how it works is you have this website like we have here, and everyone, not everyone, every computer system is throwing logs. So logs are like everything you do. If you log into something, you start a program. Um, a lot of different things, even like your malware detection. So from your AV or whatever, they're getting pushed into this bad boy here. And what makes it great is that all these, so if you're working in a large enterprise with thousands of systems, All you have to do is go to this one program here and you get access to all those logs. Otherwise, what you would have to do is go to each one of those systems and look at the logs or pull the logs individually and look at them, which can be pretty intensive, especially if there's a malware outbreak and you're having to like chase it around. It's going to beat you across the network. It's going to move way faster than you. So we have this. This is one of the big tools that we can utilize for those types of things. So that's a SIEM. If you hear it, some people may say SIEM, and you're in one of those two groups. You're either a SIEM person or a SIM person. So be SIM persons. They're SIM people. They're cooler. But you can kind of think of Splunk and other SIMs. So we have like Alienware, not Alienware, Alien Vault. Wow, I just said a computer brand. Computer brand. So we got Alien Vaults, ArcSight, Splunk, Greylog, Elastic. Trying to think of all the other big ones. Palo Alto just bought Q Radars, Cloud version. SolarWinds has one. There's a bunch out there. They all do the same thing though. You just push logs into them, and then they have like features built in that make it easier for you to search. And here, the search thing, this is where the magic happens. And this is also why Splunk is great. It's also very expensive for organizations, uh, where you can just type stuff in and never do this in an organization. Well, 24 hours, that's okay. But I'm about to do something that will blow a sim up if you did it in the real world. So star, say of all time. So this basically says, give me everything ever that's come into the system. And that's a lot usually. Luckily, there's only 12,000 logs, but um, yeah, the power is in the search. So we can do all kind of things. We can start filtering our results. We can run special functions to be able to do cool stuff with our results. But the idea with a sim is that you can search for specific things using this. It's like a search engine for your security logs. That's pretty much pretty much what it is. And the power comes from getting better and better with the search and getting a better understanding of what attacks look like when we look at them in a sim. So feel free to ask questions if any of that's confusing. But that's pretty much what we get. So I'll give you a quick tutorial on what we're looking at here. So each one of these are considered logs. So if you see this box, so the top of this box here to the bottom, this is all one single log, and this is a PowerShell log. So different types of things have different types of logs. So this is the event 800. So we have event ideas. Typically, channels are just really the type of log, and all the logs will have different fields. So these things in red are what the fields are. And this stuff in green are the contents of the fields, or yeah, contents of the fields. The blue as well. But every type of log is different. So we can look over here. So this is a PowerShell log. We can look over here and pull up a different channel, and we could look at firewall logs. There's only one, but it's going to look different. You see, there's different contents, but it looks pretty similar just because it's a Windows log. Windows logs have roughly the same style, at least. But if we were to pull, and that's pretty much, um, we say star, table, channel. Trying to remember. Table. This should work. Here we go. And then we're going to, do we do sort? No, count. Count. It's not count. What is it? It's count by, maybe? I mean, it's hidden behind a desk. Let's see. Splunk count. Oh, stats count. I think, let's see, stats count by host. There we go. That's what we want. Stats count by channel. Here we go. This is exactly what we want. But you can see, like, we do stuff like this. We have a lot of power in terms of looking. So a lot of times like what I do in a new company. I don't know how many companies, probably like 5 or 6 companies at this point. Um, First thing I do when I get in there is like, what type of logs do we have? Because depending on where you go, they could have firewall logs, they could have VPN logs, they could have emails, whole emails in here. So you could search through people's emails. Could be load balancer logs, cloud logs, you name it, application specific logs. So if you have a web application running in the environment, those logs could be coming in here, Linux logs, um, all kind of stuff. All kind of stuff come in here. They come in different forms, and some are going to be better than others depending on what you're looking for. So it all comes down to you and what you need in your investigation. Like for instance, if it's a web attack, you're probably going to want those application logs. You're probably, if it's a Windows host, you're going to want to see those Windows logs, probably PowerShell logs, probably authentication logs. If it's a Linux host, you're going to have syslogs. That's probably it. Linux syslogs and probably the Linux application logs. If it's like, say, a Kerberos attack, it's probably going to be authentication logs specifically from the DC. And then if there's an affected host, the Windows logs on that host. So it just depends, right? So if I know an attack, I know what type of attack it is. I generally have a good idea of what logs I want to look at. Same with malware. If malware was detonated on a host, we're probably going to look at DNS logs, HTTP logs, um, Windows event logs if it's a Windows host, which is very likely. Most of your enterprises have Windows logs. So it's like, okay, I know where I'm going with these things, and it's going to help you move faster as well. But it takes time. It's not something you learn overnight. But we can see some really common logs here. So we have PowerShell, very common. 4688s, very, very good. Not 4688, is 4103, 4104. Those are your big PowerShell logs. Sysmon, event ones, threes. There's a few other ones in there that are really good. Task scheduler, good. RDP logs, WMI logs, firewall, cool. And here's some more PowerShell logs. So there's a few different PowerShell logs actually. There's only two typically I care about, but all good. So let's just start looking at stuff. How about that? We'll go back to our star. Um, so let's play around with, and again, ask questions if you're like, bro, you're talking way too fast. You're using too many acronyms. I don't know what the heck you mean. Mike, do something for me. help a brother out. It's all good. Yeah, let's look in here. So let me show you what I mean by these fields, how we can search in them, and it will probably help you out a little bit. So one other thing to keep in mind here, time is always going to be one of the best filters in a SIEM because it narrows your scope. Like a lot of enterprises, we're talking about millions, maybe billions of logs a day. So every day that you can narrow it down, the slimmer your logs are going to be, right? So say each day is a million logs in your organization, which is probably more than that. Then every hour you shrink it down to you're cutting that down, right? So a million divided by 24 each hour. Then if we can break it down into minute chunks, we're talking about even less. So the goal is to narrow that time frame down as much as humanly possible to help you narrow your focus. And then we'll do other things to kind of filter down as well, such as host, maybe user, maybe a particular process. Just depends on what we're looking for. But again, we want to think about filtering. Let me zoom in for you, actually. 720, because I had some skipping stuff, Chris. A few episodes back, or a few streams back, it was being lame. And there's some jumpy stuff, but we can see if we can open it up. Actually, let's see. It won't let me do it while we're live, but I'll put that on a list to narrow it down. Let me zoom in a little bit more. How's it look? Can you read it? And we'll just work off of it right now. And I'll try it again. I'll try to do 1080p next time, but that's why. Trying to give you a really good experience. Let me put my phone on focus. Sweet. Okay, cool. And yeah, so I'll try it out 1080p next time. We'll see what happens. Thanks. Yeah, feel free to let me know if you can't see anything. I want you to see so you learn. But all right, let's start looking at fields. Yeah, so we're looking in Splunk, one of the major SIEMs, and I am about to start talking about how to start narrowing fields, narrowing your searches down on the information in our different fields. So let's look at narrowing the search. Right now we have 12,256 events. These are the total events in the Splunk instance currently. So let's start narrowing that down because looking through 12,000 events would suck for an analyst. So we want to narrow it a little bit more. Like this looks super sketchy. So let's narrow it down. Let's look at PowerShell logs specifically. So let's say um, channel equals Windows PowerShell because that's what we want to look at. Well, we have two options. We could either click this to open up a new search, narrowing it down, and it'll do it for us. So I'll show you that. See that? Um, And now we have 92 events. 92 events where channel equals PowerShell log. Now, the cheating way is to do the way I did it, but you can always type it in like this. So if we wanted to, we could just do like this. We'd have to do a star in the beginning here. And we have the same results. So you can see 92, 92. So that's one thing. And if we want to add additional searches, so we could say Windows PowerShell, and we're also looking for James Brown as the host name. We can do that too. It just adds it onto the search. So we just click this and it adds it onto the search. So we actually probably don't need this. Sometimes it's not optimized searching, it's whatever. We do see that it didn't narrow our events down at all. We still have 92 to look through. So, kind of as an analyst, what we're doing is we're looking for things we can narrow our search down to. So, one of them could be this, right? This is kind of odd for stuff to be encoded in general. So, we could do what's called a string search, where we just search basically this, and then we want to search for anything, if I remember how to do this right, uh, ink in the log. So it's just a string search. We're looking for this somewhere in the logs. Um, and the star here is a wild card. So it's saying ink can start with anything, right? So in our case, it was a dash. Dash ink is what we would look for. Um, and it'll try to find this stuff. So we're doing star up here, by the way, this wildcard to say, give me all the logs. Then I want you to narrow it by channel. Then I want you to narrow it by host name. And then I want you to narrow it by this string. So these mean it's like a pipe. If you've ever done any bash scripting in Linux, or some people do it in Windows as well, that's all it is. It's a pipe. You're saying each pipe is saying, now let's process whatever the results were further. So it's just passing on the results to the next function you're specifying. That's all it means. Does that make sense? Say, no, you're stupid. I don't know what you mean. It's okay. Let's see. So I haven't been in the grid in a little bit. So I'm gonna have to work through, let's see, missing parameter. It must have changed the way it works. It used to be where you could do that. Sweet. Might have to take off the quotes actually. Searcher parser, missing a search command. Maybe you have to do search here as well. There we go. Search. Oh, it's implied at the beginning. If we did it up here, it would be implied. That's what it is. All right, so we didn't get anything different. It's saying that all these have ink in them. So that just means encoded. So it's going to decode the PowerShell script when it runs it, which is fine. But let's see if we can find something to narrow this down a little bit more. So we're just looking through this, seeing if we find anything we can say, all right, narrow this search down a little bit for me, buddy. And might be able to do it. Let's see. We could do bit converter, maybe. And this is just arbitrary, right? We're not quite investigating yet. We're just looking for something that would be useful. So let's try to do this sleep instead. 13 event. So one of the things I definitely encourage you to do is when you hop into a sim, just play with it, get a feeling for it, and then you can always Google, how do I do this better? There's lots of guides. Splunk is great with documentation. Most of the major sims are really good with documentation. I think Splunk also has free courses. Um, I would say they're not great for people in the security world because sims aren't just for cybersecurity. They could be used for data analytics and stuff like that. So everything they teach you may not be particularly useful. But getting into things like try hack me and hack the box will focus your study time a little bit better on SOC usage of the sim, which is what we care about. All right. So let's say that we're starting our investigation and we want to look for um, or we found this encrypted payload here and we want to know about it. That's a good first start, right? We see this, it looks suspicious that something's being encoded. It won't always be bad, but we're going to assume this is bad today. I don't know why it's not letting me do that, but that's okay. We're going to assume it's bad and we're going to hop in our decoder. So I have a tool called Cyberchef. Well, it's not my tool. I like to use a tool called Cyberchef. I wish I made it because it's a really good tool. And we can use it to do stuff like decoding. And decoding, this should be, I'm pretty sure this is part of your SIC Plus studies, learning the difference between encoding, encryption, hashing. These are all really good skills to have because it's good to know when you can reverse something and when you can't, right? So if we have encoding, that means it's reversible. And encoding is very, very common in the world of cybersecurity because we have URL encoding that we'll see a lot with web applications. We will see basics. I cannot talk today. Jeez, base 64 encoding, which we'll also see related to web applications, but we'll also see it sometimes in PowerShell in general. People use encoding a lot of times to make sure special characters aren't interpreted as special characters. So it could be, for instance, if you typed a question mark in Bash, it will be interpreted as something else. Um, but maybe you just want it to be interpreted as a question mark as part of a string. So you would have to escape it and to tell it, just use it as a question mark. Don't try to do anything funky with it. So that's why you may use encoding because it's a way to make sure your stuff's interpreted by whatever whatever program you're putting it into. Make sure it's interpreted correctly. But the important thing is encoding is reversible. Now, hashing is used pretty often too. So when we're talking about stored credentials, so your passwords in Windows and Linux are both hashed. So NTLM for Windows. Um, I forget which hashing. Is it MD5? Maybe it's SHA-256 maybe. But anyways, they're hashed. So if we looked in Etsy password, in Linux, we'll see not Etsy password, Etsy shadow. We'll see all of our hashed passwords in there. If we do like nano dump or Mimikatz in Windows, we'll see all our MTLM hashes for Windows. Um, and they're one-way functions is how they're explained. So that means when we hash something, it is not easily reversed back into plain text. Now, I say I don't use the word impossible because it is possible. That's where brute forcing comes in handy. So when people do all these password dumps, typically they're hashed first in a database somewhere, and then they run a password cracking tool like John the Ripper or a Hashcat to try to guess what the hash is. So how those work? Wow, a lot of tangents today. How those work? You have a dictionary, and then it hashes the word in a dictionary and compares that hash to the hash it's trying to crack, and it says, "Is this equal to this?" If it equals, that means it's cracked the hash successfully. If not, it moves to the next line and does that millions and millions and millions of times. Like my password cracker upstairs does something like 800 million a second using Hashcat. So it's a lot of guesses. So it just does it really fast. But that's how password cracking works if you didn't know. If you didn't know, that's how it works. All right. Now, encryption is different. So entropy comes in play here. Entropy is really high with stuff that's encrypted. It's very difficult to decrypt unless you have the key or certificate, but key um, to decrypt it. So that's the important thing there. You have to have a key to decrypt stuff that's encrypted. Stuff that's hashed shouldn't be easily reversed. And encoding is easily reversed. It's not meant to be secret. It's just used typically to help prevent misinterpretation for the most part. Whew, long-winded explanation. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, this is encoding. How do I know this is encoding? This is base64 encoding because I recognize it off the bat. And in Splunk, I saw the dash inc, and that means it's base64 as well. It may be a special version of base64 because it is PowerShell. And so it is. So we have this here, and what's funny is I did find a fun way to um, decode this the other day, but I forgot what it was. So we'll do it the hard way. Um, let's see if one of these will do it. Nope. Would you this normal one? Then there's a decode function we can run on it to make it pretty. So it's not pretty right now, right? It's pretty ugly. But we can see it starting to make sense. We just have to get it to work a little bit better. So I think it's right there. There we go. Um, and then we can maybe beautify it as well. We can make it look pretty. See a generic one. There we go. So this is the power of CyberChef. We can make stuff look pretty, pretty quick. As you can see, we decoded it. We had to do quite the recipe here. They call them recipes, where we decoded it properly with base64, which means we could read it, but it was still pretty ugly. Then we had to decode it. There's like a bunch of weird characters in there we had to get rid of just because of the way it did the decoding. There is a better way to do it. I forgot. It's been a while, so whatever. But this is my cheat. And then once we got rid of that, now it looks pretty. It's human readable, but it's still pretty tough, right? Just because it's not laid out nice and tidy. So I just use a generic beautifier to do that. Now we can actually look at this and have it make sense. I bet I lost a few people with the magic stuff I did. The CyberChef magic. But CyberChef is great. You'll probably use it a lot if you're doing SOC stuff. You'll probably be using it quite a bit. A lot for this. A lot of times I use it for JavaScript things or pretty much a lot of scripting stuff in general. I'll use it for to reverse it. But looking at this by itself, I can tell this is sketchy because we have a couple of things that are super sketch. One is I noticed the AMSI off the bat down here somewhere, right here. So they're likely trying to disable AMSI, which is one of the things that your antivirus is using when it's analyzing scripts scripts that are running on your system. It's basically saying, all right, I'm like your first level antivirus essentially, and it's looking for bad, so they'll disable it. And if they dis- if they disable it, then they can get around being caught essentially. Um, it's been getting harder to disable it, but it is still possible. Yeah, yeah, Kaylor, thanks for hopping on. No worries. Good luck. Good luck with the sun. um, and we can see a lot of funky stuff in here too, where we see this random capitalization. So this is to avoid string detection. So we see some stuff. We're like, okay, this is not great. So we'll put that. I don't want to use cherry tree because it's really harder to see. I did want to use cherry tree, but it's hard to see. So what we'll probably do is just do this instead, and we'll just do a timeline here. Okay. So what we'll say is that we have a time. So we want the event time. So if you notice, we have two different times here. We have event receive time and event time. Notice how they are not the same. Sometimes the difference between these two are even more extreme. And that's because sometimes the logs can get held up on a system right before they get offloaded, because essentially each system is pushing the logs off of there's an agent that's pushing the logs off of the system that's being monitored. And so there could be a delay for whatever reason. It's being blocked, and it got received later. And the reason I say that there's a difference is because we really want to be concerned about the actual time the event occurred, because that's what matters. When we start comparing stuff, we want to make sure it's true to when it occurred. So if there's an hour difference, which could happen, it could throw us way off in terms of trying to figure out which events happened in what order and what's related to what. So we want to know the event time itself and what occurred. All right, so let's put that here. This is going to be kind of ugly. I'll find a different application to track this in next time, so that we can actually see it a little bit better. So we can see suspicious, not suspicious, malicious. This is malicious PowerShell script executed. We also see in here that they connected. There's an outbound connection from the system. And that is right here where we see this user agent. We see some kind of string here. We probably want to decode this as well. But we also see a URL. So we should see a connection out somewhere. If we have HTTP traffic or the ability to see URLs, we should be able to see this. The reason I'm specific there is because if it's all encrypted traffic and we don't have a way of decrypting it, we won't see the URLs. They will be encrypted in the body of the I was going to say packet, but the request itself. So it's going to be inside. We won't see that. We will see, for the most part, the actual domain it's going to. I say for the most part because there are techniques to get around that, like domain fronting. We won't see the real domain in there, which is the power of it. But keep it simple. We should see the we should be able to see the domain, so we can take this information and see what other systems were reaching out to this, and we can see it's probably beaconing out maybe, or it's doing another download, something like that. But it'll be a real good part of our story that we're trying to build here. So wow, I'm dying. No, I'm kidding. So a big part here is we do want to keep this up, and we'll take a peek here at this, and we'll just decode this here. So we have an IP. So we know that it is attempting to reach out. So the reason why we would look this up is to confirm whether it was successful or not. It's one of the indicators we can see. Hey, it's supposed to reach out to the site. Did we see if it's a proper domain? We can look for a DNS request, and it should be attempting to resolve that domain. If we see an IP, we should see it in network traffic leaving, and see an established connection. So these are all great IOCs here. So we'll put some of this information in our notes here. So we see um, malicious PowerShell script executed. And we have this. I would also sanitize this typically because you don't want to accidentally click something, but YOLO. YOLO. We're in a not a real thing right now, so it's okay. So we should be seeing this in there somewhere in the logs. And so, yeah, we have some download data here. So here's a cookie. I'm just looking at this to see if there's anything else we want to decrypt here. So this is get byte. So it's actually pulling some kind of file down from that. And it may save it as something else. Let's see. Download data, SER. So we'll look in here. Do we see it anywhere? Let me hide this so I can actually see what's going on. I don't see that, but I'm like scanning super quick. Might be up here actually. So this is all like basic malware analysis for you. If you're ever wondering what people do when they do this, this is kind of what it looks like. This is just a quick and down and dirty version of it, to be honest, but whatever. I was expecting to see if when it downloaded the data, if it would rename it on the disk. I don't see that, but I could be missing it. Because sometimes because just because you download a file, right? I'm telling it which URL to go to, which file to pull down. It doesn't have to be named the same when it's on the system. So I was looking to see if we need to be looking up something else in our Splunk logs for it. Who knows? Now, the other thing we need to look at is what user was executing this. So we know they did something malicious. It was a malicious code. It downloaded a file from the system. We don't know if it executed the file yet, but we don't know which user it is, and we don't know what host it is because we'll need those for our investigation. So we do know we have a host right here. So we can say this is our host. Right here. These are going to be kind of ugly, by the way, which is fine. And then we want to know what user. These are all important. So we have two different things here, actually. I think host name is the actual one we want. And you'll notice that with logs sometimes there are two very similarly named fields, and you need to make sure you understand which ones are which. So they are different. We'll use this one. Pretty sure that is the correct one. You should know in your environment what it is. Should. And now we want to know, but this almost looks like a user, doesn't it? So who knows? User ID is right here. So we have the user. All right. All right. So right now, if we don't know anything, we do know that James was the one that ran this. So he's our culprit right now. He's Mr. Bad guy. He did something that did this. So we don't know if he ran it himself or if he clicked a phishing email or did something else, or his account was just somehow gotten into, whether that's through the VPN, someone logged in as him or what. We don't know. And we do know that his host, James.Brown, is the one that's affected. So right now, everything's going to be wrapped around this host. And we want to see what else was affected. There's like a hair under my arm that's like tickling me, driving me nuts. So this is what we have right now. So part of your job as an investigator is who was affected. So there could be more. What systems were affected, and yeah, those are the two big things. Um, the other big item is how did they get in, right? Because we want to fix the hole that they came in through so that it doesn't happen again. But we also need to know what users they are so we can lock down the users, like disable the accounts so they can't do anything else until we've remedied the situation. And then we also need to know the host so we can isolate the host so that we can continue to do our forensic work and investigation work, but it can't do anything else bad. Like it can't move, the adversary can't move laterally from that host anymore, and they can't pull down stuff or start doing impactful things like erasing, running ransomware, whatever it is. We don't want them to do anything else on that host, so we isolate it. And isolating means no one else can get in or out except for approved devices. So a lot of times they'll have it'll be locked down completely except for a specific port that the forensic toolkit can access. So something to think about. Whew, out of breath. Need a drink. All right, so there's that. Now, a lot of times you'll have a shift lead that's guiding your investigation, saying, "Okay, great. This is what you found. What else? What else? What else?" And sometimes, as you get older, as you become a real boy or girl, it's up to you to do it. Let's see. So we have 92 events here. That's a lot of stuff. What we can do is we might. I was going to say we could narrow this, but this is all. We'll see if any of these fields are extracted, like the other stuff. So if we have 4103s, or sorry, 04s, we could get the decrypted text out of here. That's why I like those. These are some like funky PowerShell pipeline execution things that I typically don't use, but that's okay. So I'm just looking through here. These are all probably related to the execution of this command itself. So that's why I'm kind of scrolling through. I'm seeing if there's anything of value. We have 90 something logs, and we're seeing a lot of this stuff. News.php admin.get php process login. So these are all good things to note at some point. But just scrolling. Ooh, excuse me. Just scrolling through, seeing if there's anything super else funky that'll stand out to us. Feel free to ask questions if you're new to chat, if you're hanging out, if I'm blowing your mind, whatever. Ask questions. I want you to know what we're talking about here because I want you to learn today. And again, I'm just scrolling. I'm looking for something different. We've seen all this stuff already for the most part. There's multiple pages here. Okay. So let's try to, and that's because these are Windows logs. So one of the things we can do is we can say, we'll do this. This should work. Malforms. Let's see if this works. I'm working on trying to remember what the search syntax is. It's been a while since I've used Splunk. I thought it was if you do, there we go. And let me say, that's weird. Not channel equals this. So we could say all the time. What I'm trying to do is exclude these. And so what we'll do is something fun. So this is a way to time box your search. So we'll do 5 minutes, apply either side of this. We know this is a bad one. We'll go 5 minutes either side of it. And what I'm going to do is say, I don't want this event ID. How about that? And I just open up another one. That's how you do it. It's not. It's like that. Okay. So as you can see, our time range has changed. 5/11/2022. It's 5 minutes either side of the time. So it's a 10-minute window, which makes sense, right? And now we have 12,000 events that aren't event ID 800s. So a ton of events, pretty wide open here. But let's see what else we have here. I said I wanted 4104s. There are 4103s. So we can add this to search. And I'm going to change this to 4104s because I know those are the ones I like. There aren't any 4104s. That sucks. All right, we'll go back to this. And we're going to look through here. So there should be some decrypted information. And so payload is what we're looking for here. And what we can do is actually set it up so that we see that field. So the field again is payload. We want to see payload. So we'll just mark it as something we want to see. And now, actually, we need to do this table underscore time and payload. I think I need to do commas in between. I misspelled the field, I think. There we go. Things are case sensitive, especially the things. So basically what I'm doing is narrowing it down so that we can specifically look at what the decrypted text is, which is the payload of these, because we don't want to have to sit there and decrypt dbase64 and code everything. We could probably write a function to do that for us, but we don't want to. And then we want to refine this a little bit more and say, I'm going to sort it by time. We want to make sure it's in order. So 2232 all the same time. But we also want to dedupe it. Dedupe is just removes duplicates because there were some duplicates. Dedupe payload. There we go. Now we have 79 events, so a lot less events here. That's because we just don't. Right now, we're in the process of looking through, trying to find weird stuff that's new that we haven't seen before, like this. Invoke expression, Wimec workstation process call create net user. So he's adding a user. This is new. This is different. This is the type of stuff we want to see. And we want to copy this time and add it to your sheet. Again, this is part of our process here. 511. So this is like a whole different one here. Huh. All right. That's weird. Actually, let's look at that again. Why is it showing us 5 when we were looking at 22? Did I copy something wrong? Let's actually make sure our field's correct. Because I did a 5-minute time frame around it, but I may have clicked the wrong thing, which is fine. 5/11/22. This is, let's see. So this time may be wrong here, which is fine. Let's fix it. It's correct. All right, so let me, so we need to change from smart mode to verbose mode. And I want to see the events. You're in our time range, but what we want to see is I want to see what the event receive time is, or event time is, 214. So, so we have something goofy going on, right? And that is this time, 5/11/22 is different than this. So this is 214. Um, so this is something, it's going to be screwing us up. We'll have to narrow our scope slightly different. Um, there's a drift here, 5/11/22. 214. So we do need to be careful. I will tell you that one of the toughest things, especially in a global enterprise, is making sure your times are in a common language. So a lot of people will use Zulu or UTC time so that everyone's speaking the language. So you have to make sure that whenever you're pulling logs or pulling information, that it is then converted, if it's not being done automatically, to the time of everyone else's events. Otherwise, you're going to have chaos if people are just using their local time zones for the events. It will create havoc for you. Man, I wish this was sponsored by Mountain Dew. I could get some free Mountain Dew. It's like expensive now. All right, so this is weird. I've never had this time that far off. So we'll just have to be careful. That's all. All right. So whenever we're looking at these, we'll just have to make sure we're pulling out event receive time. Or not event time, event time here. It's different. So let's make sure we add that table. Event time. And we want to sort on event time. And we should be good now. All right. Welcome to the chat. If you're just joining us, we are solving problems. That's what we're doing today. Time. Who thought time would be so difficult? Me, that too. All right, so let's go ahead and grab this and we'll add it to our investigation now. So we have 214-8602. So this occurred, this WMIC business occurred before our previous event. Look at that. So that's interesting. So I would have thought initially that that may have been the first thing, just from experience, but it wasn't. It occurred later. So this one we can say new user created. And we can actually add this command. And we also have a new user to look out for. Alberto with a 1 has been created. So if we'll do it at the top. So we'll do a users section, users of interest. We have, so here's another trick too, right? A lot of times, especially if I'm working like a long case, even with pen testing, I'll copy directly, like Control C stuff, simply so I don't mess anything up. So definitely something to keep in mind there. And we have James. So this is going to be a local user, and I can just tell from the way it was created. Actually, this is going to be on workstation 6, node workstation 6. So this could be a remote command, especially if this is James Brown. This should be 2 different hosts. So we'll do hosts of interest, James Brown. I want to make the James Brown sound, but I don't want to embarrass myself. Okay. So we have 2 hosts, 2 users. And what I'm going to do is just so that I know, I'm going to do a // and that just means it's a local user. So the reason why we do local users is that, or the reason we annotate the difference between local and domain users are because the context. So the access they have is different. Local user, I only have access to the things on that system. A domain user, I potentially have access to other systems within the domain and actually have access to domain information. So, for instance, if I had a local user and that's all I had, I wouldn't be able to query the domain for a list of users. But if I had like CyberTees slash James, a domain user, I can request a list of all the groups, all the users, all the hosts, all this domain information because of the access I have. So it's very important. Now, the other thing to be of note is that if this was successful, right, if we see Alberto doing something, we know the account was created successfully. And we also know that the user that executed this command had local administrator privileges. So they had local access. And that also means every other user on the system is now compromised because now I could load things like Mimikatz, NanoDump, pull those password hashes, and now I can move across the domain if they're domain accounts. So this is when it becomes important to understand the attack chain itself. They are able to add users. That means they already did privilege escalation. Now they're working on persistence. Adding a user is persistence. And they're doing a slash node. That means not only have they completed um, persistence privilege escalation, but they're also working on lateral movement if the node does not match the host that this Wimit command was ran on, because this is a PowerShell command, I believe, and it's being executed potentially remotely. So let us see if we can look at the events and pull out the account information so that we have it. So we want a field that has the user and host in it, and we'll add it to our query, and we should be fine. So we want host name. We need to make sure we spell it just like this. Probably domain will be useful. And we also want the user information, but I don't see that. Don't see that in here. We have it here. It's part of it. We could do some kind of funky grep potentially. Account type, user, or account name. So we can pull account name, domain, and then host name. So let's do that. Actually, that'll solve our problem. So we'll do it in order. I actually want to replace this with this. Table event name. We also want domain, account name, and we'll do host name first. This is just the order that I typically like to do things. I start big, go small. So time is big, then host name. And then I do domain after host name because domain is usually seen in connection with the account name. Hi, V. Welcome. Welcome. So let's see. All right, here we go. So now we have more of our information here so we can see who's being affected. And we need to go down and find that one here. So we can see that he's running it from the James Brown host and he's running it as a remote command on workstation 6. So workstation 6 may be affected. So what's going to be interesting is that WMIC is being utilized for this. So we'll have to look at process creation logs. And I think we have WMIC WMI logs. So we'll have to check WMI logs on workstation 6 to see if this was executed successfully. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to tell you what's going through my brain as I do an investigation. I may be speaking too fast. I may be skipping over stuff, but I want you to make sure you understand what I'm saying, so that I can pause and walk back and make sure I explain it a little bit better if you don't. So that's the key here. A lot goes into investigations. That's why um, it takes a while to learn everything, right? Sec Plus, doing some hands-on stuff. It takes a while to build those skills. It takes a lot of reps, but once you get there, you'll be able to do fun stuff. Like I haven't really sat and done stuff in Splunk for a while, so I'm having to remember how to do the search syntax as I go. So forgive the errors. All right. No questions. Let's keep going. So as of right now, um, we're going to say new user created on remote host. And I'm going to put this under here as well. Remember, remote is key. That indicates lateral movement. And the net user, if successful, indicates privilege escalation has already occurred. So bad news bears is what this means if it was real. All right. So that's all the stuff around the 5 minute period. Let's open it back up a little bit and look at other things going on. So remember, or don't remember, know that these fields are specific to these PowerShell logs that we're looking at. And it won't be applicable to every other log we want to look at. So we'll have to rebuild our table every time, but the key is it's going to be relatively close to the same in terms of how we do it. We're always going to have this table function. This is a Splunk function. Sort is again a Splunk function. Dedupe is a Splunk function. Um, so these are all going to be normal. What's going to change is this stuff, and we're also going to change the field names as well that we're pulling. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people make the mistake when they first get into Splunk, and I definitely encourage you if you have try hack me, hop in here, work with me, play in here so I can answer questions directly as you get confused and struggle. And as this hair continues to bother me, between a girlfriend and a dog, I have hair everywhere. What are you gonna do? All right. Okay. So let's create a duplicate tab. So I like to keep my windows open. So that's kind of a weird thing that I do. And I think a lot of more senior analysts do this as well. And it just allows me to keep the information that I've already identified as interesting. And I will come back to it if I have any other questions. So we'll type this in. We're looking for Alberto. This is just going to do a keyword search. We're still in that 5 minute window, right? So theoretically, we should see an event within a few seconds of this event occurring on workstation 6. So that's what we're looking for. That's why I just searched Alberto, because we should see a Wimic command um, doing this, or perhaps a process create. Well, in addition to that, a process creates. Um, we may see an authentication attempt also occur for James Brown on workstation 6 because it has to be executed to someone. So we should see quite a few logs associated with this activity itself. I'm like going in the weeds today, so forgive me. Hopefully, it makes sense. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what people say. Uh, so here's some interesting stuff. We do see an account deleted on workstation 6 by James at CyberTees. So we do see that the account was created, so they were successful. We also know that James has at least local administrative privileges on other systems in the environment. So that's going to expand our investigation quite a bit, actually. And yeah, it's just going to widen the investigation quite a bit in general. All right. Let's take a peek, see if we find an authentication around this time. So we have this deletion event. That's cool. This is occurring at a specific time, but we also have quite a few channels of information here. So We don't have a lot of logs, so we can manually look through them. That's not a big deal. So I'm just flicking through them. We don't really need a table at the moment, but we can. So we do have the user created. This is what we were looking for originally. Password not required, enabled. Account disabled. Normal activity or normal account enabled. Interesting. So we do want the event time for this. Here we go. We'll copy this and we'll see where this falls. 8602. 8602. So they occur at the same exact time, but logically we can say it happened after this because the limit command on James Brown must have occurred first, or the PowerShell command must have occurred first in order for it to occur on the target system, right? It's just logical. So we can say, so this might be, I forget where these occur at. This is probably the domain controller, perhaps. I'm curious why Michael Bevan is showing up here. It's got to be the domain controller, perhaps. Maybe not. Account domain, workstation 6. It could be workstation 6 slash Michael Bevan, maybe. Unsure at the moment. Target domain, workstation 6. User workstations. So sometimes the fields aren't parsed correctly. That's why we have weird stuff like host cybertees.net. And we may see weird stuff happen here. User workstations not set. Account domain here. Just weird. But something we'll have to figure out. And a lot of times we can do this through just interpretation of the logs. Like, okay, we see this other thing occurring. It has this host in it. So we know it's occurred over here. So right now we'll just do account created. Let's see. PowerShell command to or for this changes. PowerShell command to create new user on a remote host. Okay, that's pretty accurate. And then we want to say this one is new user created, Alberto. I'll just put it right here, Alberto. This is the host. And the user is going to be James. And here I'm just indicating the user that executed the command, not the target user. So in this case, Alberto with the 1 in there is a target user, but James is the one executing this because this is the account that is executing the process that is creating the user. So a lot of goofy stuff the way this stuff is looked at, inception, if you will. So we can see these are different domains. And it could just be the way these are labeled. So right now, I'm just going to say this. And we'll see what happens. We'll look at the other logs and see what's going on. Let's check out hostname, Michael Bevan, new process has been created. So this is going to be a 4688. So these occur on the affected host. So these most certainly would not be on the domain controller. Whereas maybe 4720s are. I'm not sure. I feel like that's going to be a local one though. But this is for sure on the process creates are always logged on the system that is being targeted. So this is in fact the host, Michael Bevan. and we can see that password was created. Although I thought that was different than the one that we saw. So it is different. Look at that. It is a different password. This is interesting. That means he likely ran the command twice, perhaps. Like it didn't work the first time. Interesting. Let's look at the time. Event time 8602. Huh. Interesting. I wonder if they just created these logs randomly. Who knows? Registry object created. This key deleted. Interesting. New process created. Here's the net. So create a process. So this is WMI. So this is WMIC running the net command that created the new user. So net creates is what net is the utility that's being used to create the user. WMIC is the command that's being used to remotely execute a command on another system. Let that sink in. All right. So I'm not going to notate that. You might want to. For me, that makes sense. We already kind of have that annotated in our notes. No big deal. So these are all. Let's see what's going on. Registry value has been set. Binary data. I'm not really sure what's being set in here. If this is an attack, I'm not familiar with it. Registry object added or deleted. Let's see. It doesn't really give us a lot of information. I'm not familiar with this doing anything in particular. This is likely, I said maybe, but seeing the time is exactly the same. This is probably a side effect of creating a user account on a remote system. So Windows does a lot of funky stuff in the background, including modifying the registry for you. When you do particular things like you install a program, registry is going to change. A user logs in, a registry is going to change. So these are all things that are probably occurring in the background that aren't necessarily notable at the moment. So just keep that in mind. That's why I'm kind of ignoring them. So here's James Brown. So this is the source. And because remember, Michael Bevan is the target system. So this is WMIC being executed to run this process. So this is on our source system. Again, nothing new. Here's that Paul word. This is the second way we saw it. Same stuff, nothing new. And one of the fun things I want you to know, so there are two different types of process creation logs. So we've already seen 4688. These are event ID ones. These are sysmon specific, another type of Windows logs. Uh, but the great thing about event code or event ID ones is the hash field. So what makes the hash field so great is that you can now take these hashes, and these are for the process that's starting up. So the image is the binary that's being loaded into memory to start the process. This is the hash of that image, of that file. And we can take that and look it up in VirusTotal or some other tool to see if it's malicious or check out the reputation. In this case, it's not going to do anything for us just because of the process, the command line here. But in other cases where malware is being executed, it can be very, very handy for you. So keep that in mind. Oops, excuse me. I believe this is if I remember correct, the hash is the actual image loaded. So let's just double check that. We'll do the MD5 hash here. We'll drop it in the VirusTotal, and we should see con host if I remember correctly. And con host it is. So um, this is like if you were suspicious about a file, or maybe there was file renaming and we want to know what it is, we can look up in virus tools like Virus Total. This is kind of the golden standard for looking stuff up. We can get information. One, we can see what vendors think about it, if anything has actually seen it before. So you could see like a red team engagement or an APT. You may not see any files in here, like it's never been seen before, which is true, right? They typically do a really good job of making their files unique, but could be problematic. Other things we can do is get information about the executable if it has been seen. So we can see what type of file it is, um, a little bit of details about it. Excuse me. And we can see creation time. So this is just metadata about the file. It's okay stuff. Signature. Something to keep in mind as well that scares a lot of analysts when they see this. They're looking at signature verification, signature information. They see it say Microsoft Corporation, but then they also see this. Let me zoom in for you. Bum, bum, bum. File not signed. It's a Microsoft file. It's not signed. What? This has got to be malicious, but everyone said it was good. What's going on? The problem is that Microsoft does not sign all of their stuff. There are a lot of official Microsoft files that aren't signed. So just because it says file not signed and it says Microsoft does not mean it's bad. Be careful. Hey, Bayram, thanks for joining. So just keep that in mind. Don't let that scare you. Okay. It's not in one and the same. And it's the same with like, say, Slack. Slack, yeah, ask away. Ask whatever questions you want to ask. That's what this session's for. I'm going to finish up what I'm saying and then I'll answer. So it'll give you time to type. Um, yeah, so even major tools like Slack or Teams, there will be components of that, right? Because it's not just a single binary file, it's a binary file with a bunch of DLLs and other supporting files with it. But maybe not all of those supporting files are signed. Also, maybe the main file is signed, but the supporting files are not signed. So it can cause some confusion. More junior people may get scared, may have their ears perk up and say, hey, I need malware analysis on this thing. Not true. Not true. Not necessarily true. Could be, but in most cases, it's just they didn't sign it. Happens. But the rest of this stuff may not be a lot of really good stuff in here for you. Community sometimes has some stuff in here. This person gave it a -1. This one too. Sometimes you see funny stuff in there. Um, some of these are really good. Filescan.io. I don't know about that one, but we used to see hybrid analysis in here a lot. And hybrid analysis had, or Joe Sandbox, and like right here, and it'll give you some brief analysis on whatever the file is. Maybe I can find a really good malware sample and we can look up the like one of the sandbox reports so we can actually take a dive and see what's in it. We're not going to do it with this one because there's there's nothing to see. It's not malicious whatsoever. Yeah, but maybe we'll find something. So we're waiting for Bayram to ask a question, and we'll answer some of those. We'll keep scrolling while he or she is working. So again, process create. This is event ID ones. Again, process create. So you have 4688 sysmon. 4688s do not have hashes. Event ID ones do. That is the power of them. They have that information, which is amazing. All right, we'll let them finish. Still typing. We'll grab it in a second. All right, let's see what else we got here. Anything else? Opcode, interesting. Here's the WMX. So nothing new yet. This looks like it was related to our initial thing we investigated. And here's a funky looking log right here, or funky looking log here. Weird. All right, so let's see what Bahram says. Interview question. You're welcome. You're welcome. He had an interview, which congrats, you got an interview. Half the battle. A lot of people are struggling to get interviews these days. The hiring manager asked a question regarding phishing analysis, explain in 4 steps. That being said, I don't know how they evaluate the interview. Main question. Let's see what the main question is. I'm gonna keep this up for 20 seconds. Um, yeah, so he's asking, how do they evaluate the answer? So it's different for every manager. They're looking at it differently. When I ask these questions, I'll typically ask something along that lines, or there's a malware alert. But what we're looking for generally, again, everyone's different. I'm gonna just give you what I look for. They're looking for you to understand more than just the surface level information. So a lot of times, believe it or not, what I hear in interviews are, "Oh, the AV will pick it up and it'll delete it, and that's it. I'll have them email the user to tell them don't do it again." But what they want you to do is walk through the process more in depth. So things like, I would check logs like we're doing here. I would look to see if something was actually executed that was bad, to look around and see if there's any other malicious activity occurring around the phishing attempt, to confirm execution or see what websites were visited. What I'm doing and what you're doing here is you're explaining how you're going about to see what the impact was on the organization, right? So you're looking to confirm that things actually occurred. Then you're looking to remediate it, or prevent the incident from spreading, right? So if they were phished, they had credentials phished, you should be having their account reset. They should be have probably phishing training. At least talk to their supervisor. You should have them automatically log out of all whatever their accounts are, and then reset their credentials, things like that. So they just want to make sure you're like, don't just do my answer in the next interview, but they just want you to talk more in depth. What type of steps are you taking to see if there was a wider impact, to truly identify what the root cause was, and to fix the situation? So they just want to make sure you can go into some details. Right? And this really reflects how much studying you've been doing, and like the labs and stuff you've been doing and things like that. That's really what they're trying to coax out of you. Do you know more than what you learned in the Sec Plus? Is probably what they're, or did you actually learn what was in the Sec Plus? Because believe it or not, a lot of people dump that information. A lot of the junior level interviews are roughly at the Sec Plus level, but a lot of people do really bad. I can't tell you how many times, it's probably 9 out of 10, I would bet, that I ask a junior person, just give me some ports and services, and they can't do but maybe one, which is wild because they just had to memorize like 20 for an exam, and they took it last month and they already forgot them. So they're just checking knowledge retention. So yeah, this is really just breadth of knowledge. That's, if I had to summarize that whole thing, they're looking for breadth of knowledge. How much do you actually know, Byron? Feel free to follow up that question with more questions if you would like. Did that answer your question? How many times can I say question in a minute? Fingers crossed, subscribe. Yeah, thanks for the sub. Yeah, I have a LinkedIn as well. Just leave me a little note. I think it should be in my YouTube as well, or should be in the link tree in the YouTube. But yeah, feel free to connect. Say, hey, I asked you a question on you on the stream the other night, and I'm like, okay. I very rarely will accept a request on LinkedIn if you don't say something. I don't know, because I get so many people like spamming me and whatnot. So it's like, whatever. Like, if you want to take the time to say, hey, I won't take the time to click yes. But I like, definitely like connecting. So feel free to send a connection, Bahram. How else did the interview go? Did they ask anything else that just like kind of you're like, whoa, uh, this is surprising? Oh yeah, for sure. Nice. Canada's lovely. I was up in Vancouver, a couple of years back for a little bit, and I went up to Banff a couple of years back too. So gorgeous. Love being up there. Perfect. Perfect. Well, good luck. I definitely hope you pass the interview. Hope they call you back. Um, Sounds like you're doing great. Do you have your Sec Plus at all, or any other entry level certification? Actually, let me rephrase that. Which entry level certification did you get, if you got one? Oof, bug. Ah, nice. Might have crossed paths on the street randomly. All right. So while he's answering, thanks for joining the stream tonight. Also, love chatting with people. Ah, Sec Plus. There you go. Sec Plus. I get so many questions about which cert should I get. Sec Plus is like the easy one. There's tons out there, but if you go through the job listings, you're going to see Sec Plus way more than than other certifications, Google or trying to think of whatever that ISC Square one is. I got it at one point, and I don't even remember what it is, or GSEC, any of those. Sec Plus. Sec Plus is the reigning champion right now. Entry level certifications. Easy. All right. So we also want to look. So we've investigated Alberto because that was the account that was created. What we haven't done is look around at the same time around Michael Bevan, and we also haven't looked at James to see if he's been doing anything else funky. We know James, super suspect because he's creating accounts on foreign systems. So we could kind of check out James, see if he has been doing anything else naughty out there. Let's do that real quick. 4 questions in total. Oh, sheesh. Was that all your interview was? 4 questions? That's wild. All right, so let's see. We have 11,000 events in this 10-minute time frame. We need to narrow this down. This is an event. This is a case of, wow, I got so many events. We got to narrow things down. So let's start by narrowing it down to the user, if we can. They didn't extract the user, which sucks, to be honest. But what we can do is probably can narrow down by event ID, and or actually there it might be extracted in other logs. Nope. Well, I don't know what a SID is, so we can't use that. Let's see. I wonder if we can force it to. Oh, here we go. It's 24 logs related to Alberto, 5 related to James. Let's look at James, and then we'll check out Alberto, although we should have already looked at all of those. Phishing email. So we're getting some insight in here to Byram sharing. Thank you for sharing. A lot of people want to know what is being asked out there. QRadar or Splunk? What was your answer? Was it QRadar or Splunk? CrowdStrike, some endpoint detection. Sweet. Yep. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I can get you on a live one day. Definitely get you on the live. I love asking questions as being a little bit more interactive. It's just tough. A lot of people have um, I've tried to have on air spotty internet, or like the mics are jacked up and I get complaints about audio, but we can get you on before, test your mic, make sure it all sounds good. I need to find a way. There's got to be something programmatic where I can clean people's stuff up. This Riverside nonsense has been killing me lately. But QRadar, wow. Why QRadar? You like it more structured. It's not as flexible as Splunk. I'm definitely a Splunk person, but QRadar is definitely easier to learn. I had to learn pretty much every major SIEM when I started in a SOC 10 years ago. QRadar was my favorite then until I learned how to Splunk it. And ArcSight was probably my next favorite because it was super fast. ArcSight Logger specifically. That was a crazy fast one. It could parse through some logs. Least favorite was Alien Vault. It was so crappy. Let's see. Also, I am working at the moment as a SOC level one analyst. Nice. Or no, SOC level one. So, which certification is that? Or are you working in the SOC, or are you working on a SOC certification? I guess this question. So is that blue team level one, maybe? Yeah, we got to get you on the stream so we can go back and forth a little bit better. Yeah. Thanks for joining. If you're just joining us, we got someone in here who just did an interview, Bayram, and they're just giving us lots of insights of what was asked, what they're working on currently. So currently a SOC level one analyst. Great, fantastic, congrats. Everyone's having trouble just breaking in. So you're interviewing for another role, um, another junior role somewhere else. Got it. Got it. Yeah, its market is so tough. Like you said a second ago, market is ridiculous. Um, and some of the job pools starting to shrink a little bit. A lot of people are integrating AI. Um, hate it, love it, but it's shrinking down on the amount of work because it's automating some of the stuff. So you're going to see less jobs. And not to mention, a lot of organizations just don't have the support structure in place to support super junior people. We have junior people where I work at, and we're having to build out more support infrastructure. They stopped hiring junior people for a while because of that. But yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. You have to have the support there because um, it takes a while to get them to where um, they can stand on their own, right? There's just so much knowledge you have to learn as a analyst in general, as a junior. And you probably know exactly like how this feeling. You sit down the first day and it's just like a fire hose of data. Here's a SIM, here's a SIM, here's a tool. This is what you got to do. This is our reporting process. This is where alerts come in. This is how you talk to the client. There's just a lot of things going on the first day you sit down. So it really is a lot. So it's pretty wild. Let me see. Let me see if I can find the link for you, and well, I'll get you straight. Give me a second. Yeah, my name is different on. Uh, my name is different on LinkedIn. Let's see. Linktree. Did I not add? No, it's on my Linktree. So this is my Linktree. I'll drop it in chat so people can have it. Let me go back up to the right. I should have closed out some of my tabs before I started streaming. All right, here you go. There's my Linktree. So you can find my LinkedIn in there. In general, spelled my name wrong too. It's okay. Everyone spells my name wrong. All good. All good. All right. So we're looking through some Wimix stuff here. This is all nothing new, right? We've already seen all this in here. It's Alberta. This is still messing me up that the password is different. I think this is just an error from when they created this lab. I think it's just an error from it because we haven't really seen the actual command anywhere else. Or maybe these were looked at as special characters, perhaps, because those are the only ones missing. But typically when that occurs, it jacks up the actual command. So confused, but that could be what happened. Ha, no worries. No worries, man. That's good stuff. That's what these streams are about, sharing information. That's what I'm here. I'm sharing what I know, but I haven't interviewed for a junior analyst position in a while. I do the interviewing, but I haven't been on the other side of the table in a while. So it's good to get people's perspectives, like fresh perspectives on it. So I definitely appreciate you injecting some of your knowledge, some of your experience in here. Super appreciated. Happy to connect as well. I'll go ahead and connect. How about that while I'm on the stream? All right, let's see. Nice. Accepted. There you go. Easy. Look at that. Making friends on stream. um, let's see what else is going on. Yeah, we were just going through here trying to track down the activities from this host. Right now, we're just seeing a lot of repetitive stuff. And it could be that it occurred outside of this 10-minute window. But what we're still missing is that we don't know how James was compromised, right? We saw James was running some super sketch stuff right here. But this occurred before where he created the new user on this remote host. But how did he get here? We don't know. The host is James Brown. We don't know how he was compromised to get here, but we do know he was compromised at some point. So we're still trying to figure that out. We can probably expand a little bit our information and maybe we can see some stuff. But I was trying to do James, trying to see if we could see James if he was doing anything. And we can set it open for all. There's not a ton of events. I hate doing the all time, but kind of like YOLO in small environments. There's only 5. There's not a lot there. Yeah, feel free to share away. Tell them to hop on. We'll answer questions live. I want to get some people who who are kind of like in your shoes that are just got into. Well, you already have a role, or you recently broke in, so you can share your information with other people trying to do the same. Because there's a lot of people out there giving conflicting, maybe not conflicting information. There's a lot of information out there. Um, but we all have different experiences. Everyone has a different experience. Every hiring manager is different. Sorry if you hear my dog. He's howling because someone just walked in. But everyone has different experiences. So the more we can share, the more people can kind of get ready and figure out and kind of do that Venn diagram of what are most people looking for instead of doing these edge cases like some people are taking Splunk specific certifications, but maybe that's not the best. Maybe the best is like in the middle where we're just doing these Splunk modules on Try Hack Me, or we're doing a SOC certification. But finding these things in the center that are going to be the most applicable and the most likely applicable, so we can save each other time. While we're at it, bring up kind of that baseline of capability in cybersecurity. It's going to keep growing. Um, so we're going to see the baseline keep going up. But yep, sharing with the community, sharing knowledge. That's what's been fantastic about the cybersecurity community. Is we're always sharing, which is great. All right, so let's see if we can find some more James activity. So this is a pretty vague query. By the way, this is a keyword search. Not the best way to go about it, but we're trying to figure out where James is doing stuff. So let's narrow it down where we know the field. And the reason why I did the keyword search also is because we have a lot of different logs. We don't necessarily know how the fields are laid out, which ones are extracted and whatnot. So I was going super vague. So we could figure out what we actually wanted. Let's see. We got another great comment here. I don't know if you've heard this, but my friend went to the interview last week and the hiring manager said SOC level one will disappear, which is weird. I don't think so. I don't think it will. I think the baseline of requirements will continue to go up. And I mean, already from the 10 years I've been in the industry, what used to pass for a SOC 1 no longer pass. Like it used to be, you get a Sec Plus and you could talk about the Sec Plus well in an interview, you'd get hired. Not the case anymore. Most people want to see labs. Um, Another good point here. It's challenging just leaving all the monitoring to AI, except if someone like Elon comes up with a transformational thing in the industry. Yeah. So the funny thing with AI is a lot of people are learning hard lessons with AI in general. So I've heard from one of my friends who is kind of high up in executive suite, and he's talked to like focuses a lot in the dev space, and a lot of companies he was on the boards for, they fired a lot of their senior devs, hired a bunch of junior devs, and implemented AI. And what they expected to see is that they could perform exactly the same. Wasn't the case. The problem was that AI is only as good as the users, right? So that's one. But and so now they're having to fire juniors or get rid of juniors and bring back seniors. S- They can have less people, but they can't do it with all the juniors. In this case, you're saying juniors are getting rid of because of AI. But the problem with that is where the juniors going to come from. That's something that they're going to have to solve. If we get rid of juniors, we won't have a pathway to bring people into the cybersecurity fields, right? Where the mid-tier analyst going to come from if we don't have any junior? So it's going to be tough. I don't know. I think AI will limit the number of analysts we need, probably cut us down to a quarter or less of what we've needed historically. Um, but we're still going to need that training pipeline to be able to have enough people to continue doing the work, or we're going to be in trouble. And there's no really like top tier training certification out there yet to get analysts from the junior and immediately to the mid tier yet. I think there's a couple of certifications that are doing a really good job, but we're not there yet where we can say as leaders, or yeah, I guess I'm speaking as a leader in the in the industry, where we can say, hey, you're in college. I want you to go get the certification, and you'll be ready to be a tier two analyst if we're saying AI is going to get rid of stuff. But that's not necessarily the case, not yet. you know like I said, there's a few. Hack the Box has one, Try Hack Me has one, Blue Team Level 1 I think is the most prominent at the moment. um, who else is doing them? The Cyber Mentor has one he's doing. I don't think it's as well established as some of these other ones yet. um, yeah, that's all. That's all we have. And they're pretty solid. At least I know the Blue Team Level 1 is. I know a few people who have done that. I don't know anyone that's done the other ones yet, but they're good quality programs. We're using Try Hack Me now. I usually use Hack the Box. They're great. Um, just haven't seen a lot of people go through the material, come out on the other side, and get into the workforce. So we'll see. Hopefully, I can find someone and have a conversation with them. So if you're watching this clip, if it shows up in a clip somewhere, let me know. I want to know what you think of the quality of the material so that we can make good recommendations to people out there looking to scale up. And I know what to look for as a hiring manager on people's resumes. So, yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, I bet at some point in the future we'll see where cybersecurity will get to the point where it's a professional career and it'll be more established, kind of like lawyers and doctors. I mean, the military is already kind of doing that in the US. I know you're from Canada, but in the US military, you can go directly in as an officer up to the level of a colonel, which is like 5 levels up from the lowest officer, which is crazy. That's pretty much what you can do as a doctor and lawyer as well. So they're already making that transition where it's a professional career, and they want to bring in good people to do it for the government. Now, are they? And they're also doing other stuff too, like they're increasing the what they pay cybersecurity people because they're having trouble finding cybersecurity people. So they're doing a lot to attract people. Um, yeah, we just need to get out there as a community and build these things that we're talking about. Hey, we need a good training program. So there's that stuff. All right. Enough of me pontificating for the moment. Stay tuned. More pontification to follow. Let's see what else we got going on here. So, same stuff. I hate that our logs are not in order. We have 79 things here. Let's see what type of logs that we have. These are all the PowerShell logs we've already seen. We don't care. We've already seen them. We're moving on. Event ID. So it's all the same event IDs. So these are all PowerShell. So I think we're kind of SOL searching that field. It doesn't show up where we want. But let's see what else we can do here. Let's see what type of event IDs we have. And we can kind of slowly knock them out if we don't want to see them. And maybe we'll narrow it down to things that are interesting. So we have there's some Azure stuff here. That's interesting. Um, let's see. Yeah, feel free to comment, ask questions if you're new in chat. Definitely happy to share your information, not your sensitive information, but share any of your experience on here. Share it with other people. Happy to answer any questions you may have as well. And thanks for joining. If you're just joining us, we got about an hour left in the stream. So use your time wisely. All right. We are looking through Splunk, looking for information we can use to um, propel this investigation a little bit more. We got lots of logs. We got to figure out which ones are applicable here. All right. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a good one. Bayram again with some good conversation topics here. It's very interesting if you have discussed it yet, but my connections are always showing data reports that show a lack of cybersecurity professionals, countries like US or Canada. Then ask why getting in is hard. Yeah, so there's someone in my LinkedIn feed that was showing those data reports as well. And what's interesting is there's a few things throwing off or skewing those results. One is that companies will list the same role multiple times, sometimes in every state or like tens of states. So that's bulking up those numbers quite a bit when they do their counts. The other thing is companies that are like, say, startups or that may look like they're struggling in the market, what they'll do is just start posting advertisements to show that they're growing, but they're really not hiring. So they're phantom jobs. Like that's a whole that's the whole thing. So we got phantom jobs, duplicate jobs, and those are major contributors to this whole thing of jobs. The other thing is that a lot of the jobs they're not junior, which is the problem, right? They're mid tier plus. So they're looking for experienced people. So the real problem is that there's not enough experienced professionals out there. Again, it goes back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, where we need a pathway to grow people into roles, and that's not really happening. There's really not a ton of junior roles out there. It's becoming very difficult. There are internships. There's companies are trying to, or not companies, colleges are trying to solve that problem with internships or externships to some degree, trying to fill that role. But still tough, not happening. There's just a lot of people coming in because of what you said, that there's a ton of unfulfilled jobs. But it's the inaccurate representation of the market. So we now have it flooded with talent with practitioners or baby practitioners looking to break in. So a small pipe with a lot of people, kind of where we're at. What do we want to break this down to? I'm kind of curious what some of these logs are. I don't know what these numbers are. Some of them, like 7 or 13. I think there's what is it? It's like event name or something like that. It's also weird because it's not my SIM, so I don't know how it's organized because they're not all organized the same. Like there's like 53 fields here um, that haven't been listed. Is it cute? No. Trying to remember what the name of it is. Event? No, it's like event name or something. Something like that. Maybe context info. Maybe, no, it's not. Is it source type? Let's see. Source type. Nope, all the same. Sometimes source has that information too. Nope, not in here. It's also kind of funny too with the job market where more companies are taking cybersecurity more serious. So we're seeing some growth from that as well, and also like places like Europe locking down in terms of requirements for companies to follow cybersecurity, like type requirements, audit requirements. US was pushing down. They're kind of backing off in some degree. Like we have CMMC for contractors. There we go. There's the spammer. Wow, it took him 2 hours and 12 minutes before we saw him. Republican prototype in watch. It's always fun. See how long it takes these bots to get in here. All right, so category. That's what I want. Category. Here we go. Um, Filtering platform. So category is what we're pretty much what a human readable name is. So we could actually look at these real quick. So let's do that. We're going to duplicate the tab real quick. We're going to table out categories and then dedupe it. So we're going to say table category dedupe. What's wrong? Let's see. Dedupe command. Oh, category. So look at the difference here. Some people don't realize. So there's still 11,288 events, but we have 32 statistics because these statistics are pulled from our search here. So our table, we're only looking at categories, we're deduplicating, and there's only 38 unique categories. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing here. All right, let's see. Got a question? Great. What is your opinion for outsourcing SOC level 1? Looks like giant companies are doing that, per my friend who is a SOC manager. Yeah, that occurs sometimes. That's actually where I worked my first role. Um, People outsource to us to do their SOC level 1. And whenever we escalated incidents or alerts, they went up to that company, to the client, and then their analyst handled it. Um, so it just depends, right? Sometimes people outsource SOC work in general because they don't have the ability to develop that, or they don't have um, enough funding to support it in general. So it can be good. And it becomes a business decision at the end of the day. It could make sense for an organization to outsource level 1 and then have a couple of analysts for higher tiered work. And then they can multitask, or not multitask, but multi-hat other roles as well in the organization. So they may be able to help with compliance, or they could also do vulnerability scanning as well. But you'll see that a lot, and it's just a way to keep head count down as well. Yeah, I mean, the There's pros and cons to that. You're also relying on your vendor, whoever's doing the tier one, to do the job well. And I have seen at a lot of companies that they don't do it well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of what you're getting when you outsource it as a business. And there's really no quality check, right? All the stuff that's being escalated, you're not quality checking. You're not going back and looking over it. I'm not going to name any names and shame um, companies who do tier one services, but a lot of it comes down to they're not developing their people well, or they're not giving them the tools to do it well. Um, so it can be problematic. I err on the side of I'd rather have more control over a process than less, especially if it's this type of thing where this is a critical component of your organization. But a lot of people look at it, there's so many false positives. So they maybe not only hand off the tier one, but they're also handing off the engineering aspect for the SIM and the detections. So they're typically handing off more than SOC one. They're like, here are the basic SOC functionalities. So um, probably detection engineering, SOC one, and then security engineering. So your SIM, your firewalls, whatever else you have going on. And then your tier twos just handle stuff that makes it to them. So yeah, I mean, it gets expensive to build out a full blown team. I mean, you're talking about now, if you're going to build it all the way out, your engineers are going to run you probably 140, 170 grand in the US, depending on state. Your tier one analyst, depending on your state, can run you from 40 grand to 70 grand, probably. Um, your tier twos are probably going to be 80 grand to maybe 120 grand ish, depending on the state. Um, your detection engineer probably closer to the 100K mark, 140K mark. There's just a lot there. So I mean, you're talking about at the end of the day, probably getting inching just a basic SOC services, probably inching close to $1 million just in salary, not even including tools. So they can typically shrink that down to a fraction of that by outsourcing a lot of it. And that's how they look at it. Just a numbers game. That's business. Um, and it's a lot. I mean, they look at it too, just like we were speaking about earlier, like building the support systems to support junior people or to support those roles. It's like same reason. So my company is a pen test company. Same reason a lot of people outsource pen tests. Um, they may only want to do one or two pen tests a year. It doesn't make sense to have a six-figure salary on staff full time for a handful of pen tests. So they outsource it. Not to mention they don't want to deal with the training and the upkeep of having those people on staff either, right? It takes some stuff to keep someone actually engaged as an offensive operator. Just giving them two pen tests a year or so, and or put them on vulnerability management, they're not going to be very happy. They're going to leave probably pretty quick. So people outsource it as well. So OPSEC stuff, about the same boat. All right. Let's see if we can find any of these events that may be interesting. Image load, maybe one. Network detection, maybe a good one. DNS query, maybe a good one. These pipeline ones are probably PowerShell, don't really care. Process creation, maybe. These logons may be good because we may need to figure out. Um, One of the things we would want to see is when did James log on? Since he is a person of interest, file creation time. So these may lead to, we should actually be able to see when that file was pulled down, downloaded. We should see a file create actually there for it. So let's look at that. This can be one of ours. So let's do a duplicate. We'll do look at file creation time. Interesting times. Yep. It's a new AI world. AI is such a hot mess right now. It'll get better. Give it a few years. But then we'll have to learn how to adapt. And I've seen it a lot where people are like, well, you know, The game of the future is how well can you use AI, and can you use it better than other people? That's going to be the question. I bet my system shut down. It did. What a shame. What a shame. Let's see if it'll let me add an hour. Ah, it did. All right, we'll start it back up. No biggie. No biggie. We'll let it go in a second. So we got about 40 minutes left today in the stream. We can answer some of these questions as well, perhaps. Well, one of the infected host adversary was successful in creating a backdoor user. What was the name? We found that one. Registry key was updated. Yep, we saw that one. We didn't see the impersonate thing. I think this is maybe the Wemit command, perhaps. We didn't see this. That'll be pretty easy to pull. Just pull authentication logs. We saw this. This was, I was going to say Rick James. It's not Rick James. It's James Brown. And PowerShell logging is enabled. How many events were logged for the malicious PowerShell execution? This is going to be weird to get the count that they're looking for. Looks like they're looking for 2 digits. So we'll see. We do have this though. So I think we've got most of the things that they're looking for. Welcome if you're just joining. We're waiting for this to start back up because I was stupid and I let our instance die on me. And now we have to start over. Well, not start over, but do your thing. Or reconnect and all that. So some of the funky things with these CTF questions is that they actually don't give you full attack chain. They just throw in pieces like inject logs in here. And it becomes difficult to investigate because it's not realistic. So if you're looking for a logical attack chain, it does not exist. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, so we want, I'm gonna put this in quotes and see if we can get it. We can't do last 24 hours. We'll do all time here. We'll put this in quotes and we may have to escape some special characters, but let's see. Unbalanced quotes because I added 2. Here we go. We got 4. Let me zoom in. I had zoomed in earlier. But of course we had to change stuff to get in here. So here's Alberto. This is the backdoor account, I think. It's hard to tell because one was a 1, one wasn't. So we'll see. File created. So one of the things to keep in mind as well, a lot of times you'll see random events like this, like file created, and files get created, temporary files are created all the time on a Windows host. So it doesn't necessarily indicate that this is a malicious log. Stuff's just happening. Or more specifically, it's not related to the attack chain. It's just related to how Windows is working. So we just have to be careful when we're looking through this information to make sure we're keying in on important stuff versus just stuff that's arbitrarily there, or not arbitrarily. It's just there and in happenstance. So there's nothing here that I would say is of interest in this investigation, at least in this log, this specific log. So let's see what else we got. I thought there should have been something because our user downloaded a file, something.php, And we should have seen, well, that was a file creation time change. I thought we had a file creation somewhere. Um, that's what I wanted to see. I misread it. It's late. Give me a break. Um, Here's a removable storage. So remember, we still haven't determined how the malicious stuff was actually executed. Well, we have the command, but we don't know if it was phishing or how the user was compromised or if it's an insider threat or what is it. So that's we're still trying to figure that out. It's a question. So these logs are removable storage. So we're looking for information related to removable storage. I actually never looked at these logs. Um, you'd expect, usually I've seen this with drivers specifically. We're showing you like a specific driver is installed. But here's a GUID that may help us track this removable storage event. Like this is mostly useless. We just see that a specific user injected a removable drive. We don't know anything about the drive. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for, the object stuff. Um, because if we're doing an investigation, we want to say, hey, we see we see that this drive was inserted and you want to recover the drive and get the stuff off of it if you're doing an investigation. So if we don't have that, it's hard to tell. We'll see it here. Looks like we have a one last thing. Bayram might have to leave us soon. Got to go to a meeting soon. Once again, nice to meet you. Looking forward to possibly live podcasting or something. Yeah, for sure. Hope we can shed some light to people out there with IT cybersecurity. I hope so too. Good luck at your meeting. Hope to chat with you at some point live. You can give us all the details. Thanks for joining us tonight. You've been awesome. All right. Let's see. So here's the device. Let's see if we can find this anywhere else. Because what we're also doing is we should see stuff linked to this device in some logs. Like if something was executed, if something was downloaded or moved from this device, we should see it listed as a share, perhaps somewhere. So that's why we're spending some time in here as potential. It would have been amazing if malware was if malware was on the system from a floppy. That would have been hilarious. When was the last time you seen a floppy disk actually used on a host? Let us know in the comments. Floppies. I might still have some. I used to have these coasters for drinks that were like the shape of the floppy, and they had funny stuff written on there. Let's see. So this is kind of interesting. Here's a WMIC process, WMI process related to removable storage. So that's interesting because we know one of the commands were issued through WMIC. So hopefully me explaining this is helping people grasp kind of how we go through an investigation. I'm not very efficient right now, like going through this because I'm just kind of chatting. My brain's all over the place as I'm answering questions, chatting with people, and working through this. So we're making it work, but hopefully you're getting something out of the conversation, getting something out of me talking through my thought processes. And sometimes I just look through stuff, looking because you don't know what you need sometimes, and so we look through to figure that out. So we're almost done with these specific logs. So that didn't necessarily help me. I would say there's not a ton of information here. Maybe later we'll be able to narrow it down to say, hey, this device was plugged in 2 minutes before this activity occurred. So it's something that we want to pay attention to. We don't know at the moment. So we will, excuse me, we'll keep looking for a smoking gun. Here's the file created. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Throw it in here. Jeez, I'm getting tired. File created. We have 103 events. So that's a lot. What we can do perhaps is narrow it down to specific fields and be able to gloss through the fields a little more efficiently. So what we're looking at, probably we can look at these fields in here to see if there's anything that stands out to us that we may want to hone in on a little bit better. So one of those could be the message is something we want to see for sure. Host name is something we want to see for sure. We know what the category is, so we don't really care. Account name is system. So account name potentially, and that might be it. Let's look at another one and see. So it all looks roughly the same. So these are prefetch files being created. So these are actually forensic artifacts, and those are constantly being created in the background as processes or images are loaded. Really, processes are created, images are loaded. So not necessarily something we care about. So we may want to exclude anything with a .pf in it. But what I'm doing is just looking for some commonalities that we can search on as we look through this information. But we can start excluding stuff for sure. So we can perhaps exclude like this. This may get rid. So 77 events we can exclude. So let's do that. Or 77 events left after exclusion, maybe. So we'll do that. So let's see what else. We have SVC host. We're just seeing what's triggering here. We might be able to get rid of this one as well. Let's do it. Let's narrow us down a little bit further. And we can get rid of probably this one. 36 events still. All right, so this makes it a little bit easier, more palatable for us to check out. Welcome if you're just joining us. Happy to have you. We're just looking through some events. Trying to see if there's anything relevant. We already did a look around, 5-minute look around of the events that we saw earlier. We didn't really see anything, and there may not be anything in here, right? We may only have to answer the handful of questions that they asked, and that's it. But cannot stop yawning. But I wanted to approach this like it was an actual investigation. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of logs in here. I thought there was a boss of the SOC module that we were going to be able to do, and it would have had some really, really good stuff in it. All right, let's answer some of these questions in here real quick and see if we can do it. So let's look at the main index. At least we can work on our skills here. Index equals main all time. So 12,256. We'll copy that number, put it in try hack me. Did not like our answer, probably because there's a leading space here. Try it again. How many events were collected and ingested in index main? Formatting drives me nuts. All right, on one of the infected hosts, the adversary was successful in creating a user. What was the username? We have that in our notes here. Alberto with a 1. Let's make sure formatting's correct. Formatting's correct. On the same host, the registry key was also updated. Let's look at that one. That one's going to be different. Pretty easy to do. We should see a registry key somewhere. Should be pretty quick. Registry event. Let's make sure we're answering the question correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just counting again. That was correct. Examine the logs and identify the user that the adversary was trying to impersonate. Oops, should have been. Maybe that one. That was an easy one. What command is used to add a backdoor user from the remote command? We have that. So the question is, which one of these do they want? I don't know which one they want. Because we have this, that's going to be Alberta password. I think it's this. But it doesn't look like it matches. Surely they have to have this WMAC node thing in there. Used to add the backdoor to the root. Not correct. I don't know. Let's see if we can find that again. Let's see. Workstation 6 should make it pop up. We'll get there. We're down to about 20 minutes left. If you're on here, you got any questions, feel free to shoot them in chat. And answer. If you have any advice to other people out there trying to get in cybersecurity, definitely share it. People will love to hear it. We are looking for the command that created the backdoor. Probably should have did process create, but whatever. I am being super lazy. I guess super lazy would be doing it more efficiently. So we might be able to do, I don't remember where they were created at. Let's adjust to this. See if this helps. Here we go. Ah, this is what they wanted. Probably. Looks more like... No, that wasn't it. What the heck? This looks like the full path to net 1. Or WMIC, and then /node, perhaps. This is me using like all my brain's ability here. But we do know we need 2 colons in the answer. So I think this is a full path to the binary that's doing the thing. So let's see if we can find the full path to the binary that's doing the thing. We're looking. I feel like this is it. Try one more time. We got it. How about that? All right, how many times was the login attempted from the backdoor user observed during an investigation? So we're looking for 4624s, probably, is what we're looking for. And for Alberto. Oh, so let's see. Let's see if we can find Alberto. We're going to look for the event ID 4624s. There are no 4624s. We said categories is what we were looking for. So probably user account management, perhaps. Let's see. Does it tell us user account was deleted? User account created. So this doesn't really help. So we're looking for authentication events for Alberto. And there's only 14 events in here. So it should show, we should see an authentication event somewhere. So process create wouldn't be it. Registry events wouldn't be it. These are the commands to create the user account. This is the same. So, I mean, if you've noticed, you see net user all over the place. There's just a bunch of processes for net user or with net user. Yeah, that's pretty normal. The way it cascades and does its thing. Like we see the initial command, which is Wimic. It shows up differently in a couple of different logs, and then it goes to the actual target system, and we'll see net and net one being executed. Just how the things unravel, and that's something you'll learn as you learn your tools and understand how Windows works under the hood. You'll see a little bit better. Right now, I'm just confused as to why we don't see any authentications if that's what they're asking for. How many times was the login attempt from the backdoor user observed during the investigation? Zero. Jeez. What a stupid question. I was expecting it something. What is the name of the infected host on which suspicious PowerShell commands were executed? We know that one. That was one of the first ones. James Brown. PowerShell logging is enabled on this device. How many events were logged for the malicious PowerShell execution? Oof. PowerShell logging. So there's a couple of different PowerShell logs in here. Let's see if we can figure out which ones. It's going to be a 2-digit answer. So let's see which logs it wants. So there are quite a bit here. So let's narrow down to the channel first. So this is what I was talking about. So we see quite a few. So I don't know if they mean Windows PowerShell or Microsoft Windows PowerShell operational. These are probably our 4103s here. These aren't. So we'll try 92 and then 79. See which one it is. And 79. So which ones did it want? Let's see. I think these are the 4103s. Event ID 4103s. There we go. Man, I'm so good. So good at guessing. An encoded PowerShell script from the infected host initiated a web request. What was the full URL? We also have that in our list. 1, 2, 3. So this may not be correct. So let's look at our base 64 stuff. So this is what we pulled earlier. This is like at the very, 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 very beginning. We pulled this, but we can also look at the 4103s and unravel this as well. So let's do that first. Let's look at 4103s because the great thing about 4103s is that they do kind of unravel the mystery a little bit for us. So we should see some where there's no encryption applied, and that's going to be in this payload category. So we can go ahead and do some funky stuff here where we say table time payload, and let's dedupe payload as well. So what we got, we have about the same. And I think this is capitalized. That's why we have an error. There we go. Need to be capitalized. And so we're looking for, this is what I thought it was. What's the question? It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Huh. See if we can find it. I don't see what they're looking for. So it's getting these random. Or let's see. What is the full URL? So IP address, we got the IP address. And so we're looking for that. Let's go back at it one more time. So default credentials, we extracted this. So whereas SER and T, here's R, no, SER and T. I don't see, here's T, download user SER plus T. So it is downloading the data from there. I don't know what this cookie is, but our other stuff should be correct. This is just probably some kind of hash or something encrypted. If it's a cookie, probably something encrypted as a cookie. Let's see, 12 minutes. Let's see if we can get the answer in 12 minutes. System encoding, ASCII bytes. This should be exactly what we got previously. 10, 10, 10, 10, 5. What did we put in there? 10, 10, 10, 5 / news.php. And we're saying that it's /news 1, 2, 3, 4. This, but doesn't like it. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be 5 here. I haven't seen HTTPS, so that's correct. Our results don't match that. But there may be a specific log for us. We never looked to see if this showed up anywhere. Let's do that real quick. Let's see. Outbound connection. What are these threes? No, 5156. I've never heard of a 5156. So this is kind of interesting. That is interesting that that's all it was. So we're looking for a URL. Let's we're going to cheat a little bit. We'll do HTTPS. And all we got was Microsoft stuff. Interesting. So unless the PowerShell script changed, like unless there was multiple, this should be what we have, unless they modify. This is all proxy stuff. That should be fine. Where's K being used? So I'm not sure. What's going on here? Could probably run this in PowerShell, at least this part, and then print it out. So K is being used, but we need to pull some args from the rest of it, potentially. Because this is all just AMSI stuff here. But this is where the actual web client stuff begins. So this is Unicode. That's why we had to do extra decoding up here. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just a formatting issue. HTTP. An encoded PowerShell script from the infected host initiated a web request. Let's see if there are any other specific logs, because they're acting like it's the HTTPS log. We did have a list of categories. Here we go. Let's see if there's any in here for, let's see what our, this was with James in there. We need something where the full URL is going to come through. They mentioned it was going to be part of the PowerShell script, which we already got, we looked at. We don't see something with HTTPS in it. Maybe a DNS query. Let's check that out. See if that helps us with anything. This will get us the domain. I don't think it's a domain though, because it looks like it was an IP address that was provided. But let's take a gander. Acme, you'll see that all over your environment. MSN. Selena Adam. There must be another host in the environment. Workstation 6. Got an IP for it. So we could have resolved the IP. Because sometimes when we're doing investigations, some stuff is going to be in human readable. So like the domain name, DNS. And sometimes it's not, right? Especially if you're looking at event threes or your network logs, you're not going to see the human readable. You're going to see the IP address only. So you got to take that into consideration when you're doing your searching. We need to figure out what they're talking about here. Um, let's do our 4103s. I wish they had fours. Do our 4103s. Let's look at, see if the context information is the same. PowerShell, we'll see SGBGA, SGBGA. And it doesn't mean that it's the same. Even though it starts the same, it could just, the command could just be starting the same. But pretty confident that it's all the same. um, hmm. Well, let's take a hint. We only got 4 minutes. What? Hey, this is the hint you're looking for. Defang the URL. Cyberchef can help with it. I don't know what that means. Let's look up investigating with Splunk and see what people say. Try hacking. Teach him. Let's see. I actually hate medium sites typically, but that's all right. I want the last one. Ten. 5. Are they just messing with us? What is going on here? Oh, we have to defang it. I see what they're asking for. Got it. All right. So let's do. I actually didn't know this was a. I didn't know you could do this in here. So let's do this. And then let's add our little bit to it. Still not it. What is it? What are we putting in here? Let's try a different one. I'm not sure what they want. Man, my posture is slowly shrinking. I need to fix my last week's video. We got to defang that also. That's why. There we go. It's late. Give me a break. So we had the right answer. We just didn't have it in the right format. What a shame. Womp womp. This is new. This is a new screen. Look at this stuff. What you did. Post request to manage search jobs. Get request to retrieve search results. I don't know that any of this makes sense. They didn't like that. I did do this though. Um, Not sure what they're talking about. They didn't like my time range because I was being lazy. Womp womp. This is kind of cool, interesting. Um, I like to see this get a little bit better. This is fair. I didn't do that. I did for a little bit, but um, it's tough, 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 tough. When you're not sure if it's actually linked. So this was not a complete attack chain, which we were hoping for. But whatever. Um, yeah, if you missed a good chunk of the show, check us out, and the stream will be posted afterwards, so you can watch it back. I'll trim out the beginning videos, so you'll get right to the meat. If you have any questions, join the Discord channel. Hop in there, ask away, ask anything. We'll answer. So that we can share it with the community. That's why we do it there. Someone asked if I mentor today. I don't. I do everything through the community so we can share the wealth of knowledge that the community has and I have with the world. But yeah, check me out next Thursday. I'll be on stream again for 3 hours. So we go from 6 to 9. Check out my videos as they drop on YouTube. So you can see some valuable information. Like the most recent one was tips for your resume to make it better, to help it get through that pile of noise, the thousands of other resumes out there. Um, we also have 2 podcasts running. Didn't drop one this week because we had an internet outage where I'm at. So I had my guests, but we didn't film. We just had a beer and tacos. uh, but yep, keep touch. Check out C Suite Cyber, Mike Small podcast. And until next week, keep hacking.